Right? I really don't remember this Mugato. Um, as much as other people seem to remember it, but I don't. Yeah, that's why Kirk's injured, right? And then the Mugato woman with the orange lipstick, she comes and take private little, and they had the flintlocks. This was the Vietnam episode. There's a lot going on in Private Little War. I think I might have to rewatch it, but yeah. So I mean, Mugato showed up in a lower decks. It's a lot of fun. What can we learn about the Mugato? Okay, yeah, peaceful planet. Oh, Spock's wounded, but is Spock shot with the flintlock? Yeah, and he recuperates. Kirk is attacked by the Mugato, Horn who's by deadly. So the Mugato, and then the witch doctor from the Hill People, and Tyree's wife. Kirk offers to restore, accepts the villagers. All right, so that's Private Little War. Maybe I'll do a little deep dive on that. But today, I'm on a bit of a roll today. Today we find questions. And I have TOS and TNG and randoms. Now, I'm still battling these Trivial Pursuit questions. They are they're not the worst, but the task is to get some variation. So I want to stay, and I shuffled them. They're shuffled this time. So TNG, Undiscovered Country. Okay, this is not quite random. I decided to based on the theme, and I want to talk about Final Frontier. How about that? I think Star Trek V has come up a bit in my ramblings, has it not? Oh, yeah, I did the Great Barrier versus the Galactic Barrier, and we see the Great Barrier from Star Trek V. Now, I think I have enough written to do a deep dive on Star Trek V. That's gonna happen, at least for myself, because I don't want to let my 5 people down. All right, so let's get to it. Here are the questions. Here they are overall, and we will use the Mugato to do them one by one, because I don't want to be distracted by the questions that are on their way. So the Mugato will guide us through Star Trek V, that William Shatner masterpiece that has provided a lot of raw material for Lower Decks, I hope, from now into the future. All right, so when we think Star Trek V, we're in 1989. I remember it well. I think this movie was released maybe a month before Batman, Tim Burton's Batman movie. So it didn't have a lasting impression, at least on the general public. The special effects were not great. It had a lot of potential to it. That's why I want to really re-explore it again. And no, I can't remember the name of the actor that played Sybok. I know they wanted Sean Connery to do Sybok. You can imagine that. If you'd like to really imagine that, you can watch Zorza. Yeah. Wizard of Oz. Yeah. That's the 1975 Sean Connery sci-fi where he's in the little G-string get-up thing, and it's a bizarre movie. First name of this actor is I haven't finished talking about my takeaways from Star Trek V. Here's what bugged me about Star Trek V. Okay, so I'm watching it as a 14-year-old. It bugged me that the crew could be taken over like that. Again, we're getting it. And I realized it wasn't quite mind control, right? But it was, here's this Vulcan psychologist guru coming in and making you feel better about your inner pain, and therefore, since you now feel better, you're gonna let me take your ship. That never sat well with me at all. And in hindsight, I can see, this is all a setup to make Shatner look like the only human being in all the galaxy that is fine with his pain because it makes him who he is. Now, that happens to be something I kind of agree with. It wouldn't stop me from going to see a psychologist if I needed to, or if I felt like I should. But you can see a real anti-psychology theme with Shatner's performance and how he writes himself as the standout from everyone else. And I know Nimoy touches a bit on this, not necessarily my argument, but he touches on his impressions of Star Trek V in his book I Am Not Spock, where he's like, I already solved these issues with Spock in the last movie, and you're coming back to them as baggage just to make you look better, so on and so forth. So, Shatner does get in the way of the movie. That's not to say the movie didn't have its good beats. Wish I could remember a few right now, but okay, we'll think about the movie later. So Lawrence was his first name. Don't know what his last name was. Damn, it was a fine performance given what it was. Yeah, that one wasn't even in the in the memory banks. I'm lucky I got Lawrence. Lyndon married to daughter of Lucille Ball and Desier. Oh yeah, nice little connection there. Great, and again, it's a fine performance. I especially like the performance of the desert henchman from Sybok. There's something about Sybok's name that I wrote down once, and I'm like, oh, we can work with this, but I'm gonna have to go look it up in my many meanderings that I've written over the years about this, but. Yeah, I'm okay with Spock having a half-brother and all this. I think they could have played that up a little bit in Discovery if they wanted to, but, it's not essential. But, yeah. That was our, yeah. And then what happens to Sybok in the end? He sees the foolishness of what he does, which is often a theme in Trek, where we get into things and then we're like, oh, great, this is happening, and, oh, had I known, and I don't know. It gets... It gets related to the intention that Roddenberry had with the first Star Trek movie, at least not the movie itself, but the Phase 2 pilot in Thine Image, or the God thing. So you see, like Shatner's taken some of these Roddenberry ideas about God and so on and so forth. But anyway, how deep it can go in this movie, it doesn't go deep at all. A lot of it is a retread. Now this is why it sounds familiar. This is a retread of Way to Eden. That can't be something. That can't be an original thought right there I just made. But yeah, maybe what bugs folks about this is parallels between Star Trek V and Way to Eden. That's worth exploring because I love me the Way to Eden. A lot going on in there. Okay, so yeah, I missed out the actor's name. Lawrence. What was not allowed on Nimbus 3? Nimbus 3, the planet of galactic peace. Where the Klingons and the Romulans and the Federation delegates all hung out in the desert. And you see David Warner in his first Trek performance, followed shortly thereafter with Star Trek VI as Gorkon, and then as the Cardassian, there are Four Lights guy in Chain of Command, eating his Hasper. I don't know. Hasper is the Bajoran food. This was the egg that. Get to that. No, I'm thinking about Chain of Command. How about you? All right, so weapons were not allowed on the planet of galactic peace, but they seem to have had a lot of them. So it didn't quite work out. It was just kind of, here's a good idea, and it was just left there. Oh, I was going to put some Star Trek bridge sound effects in the background for this. I forgot about that. Okay, Mugato, where are we going next? Oh yes, the marshmallows and the campfire and the row your boat. Do you know row your boat? Kirk and McCoy suggested several campfire songs, including Camptown Races, Moon Over Ride. Oh, well, I guess I already answered the question and just thinking about the scene. Yeah. And then they get back to the beat at the end of the movie, and that's what the movie ends on. I guess it's almost at the center of the dartboard for you to hit. Good intentions. I think part of it's sweet. I'm trying to always be as positive as I can on all kinds of Trek. Yeah, why not? Why not have a camping scene? That's fine. It was played well. You got to see the three of them outside of the normal context. What three individuals we saw is maybe the larger question. What I mean by this is, I don't know if we're seeing Kirk, Spock, and McCoy so much as we're seeing Shatner, Nimoy, and Kelley at the campsite. But this by this time, the actors have become their roles. Especially in this movie when you have such a ham directing it. But maybe I'm too down on Shatner. I don't know. Once again, I would rather have remastered Deep Space Nine and Voyager rather than Shatner in space. Let's get back to Shatner in space some other time. There we go. All right. Was the Klingon name for Shah Karid? Ouch, this one hurts. No, I always want to say Clocktagel Rock, the briar patch from Insurrection, but that's not it. Now I gotta turn the card. Nothing's coming to mind. Shocktakel Rock. Oh, row. They missed the extra row. Row. There were 4 when Shatner asked, right? And maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that was not in the memory banks. Q2 was this a play off the QE2? So the QE2 is the Klingon afterlife. I kind of like that, but that's not where Feklar lives, right? Don't get me going on Feklar again. Feklar's still not in the long-term memory. Okay, I gotta go here. I feel the garage door just opened. I got things to do today. What did McCoy do for his dying father to end its pain? Well, he ended his father's life. He pulled the plug on the father. Now that was an original scene in this movie because throughout most of Trek we know nothing about McCoy. We were supposed to know something about McCoy in The Way to Eden with Joanna, the daughter, but then that just became the love interest of Chekhov. And I think the book Crisis on Centauri, the Trek novel, came out in like 84 maybe. That explored some of McCoy's personal life. But this is as close as we get, at least in film form, of anything to do with McCoy. So that's a check in the this is important box for Star Trek V. What complicates this is that McCoy's a doctor. So he would already have that feeling of mercy in him. So I don't know if this would be the baggage that it is. But nevertheless, it's played up as well as it can be by DeForest Kelley, who got to finally do some real acting, get the choppers working, fine performance. So well done on that. Now there's walking above me because someone's home. All right, so what's next? Last question for Star Trek V. Where did Kirk, Spock, and McCoy have to fly up to escape pursuit? Well, they flew up the turbo shaft, right? Turbo shaft. Unfortunately, I think the continuity issue with the turbo shaft is that it had the Enterprise having so many levels, it was just impossible for the ship to be that big. That's a memory I have from somewhere. So that's Star Trek V. I gotta go. Wife's upstairs talking to cats. I know she can hear me. I'm gonna pick it up on this. So that's my 2 cents on Star Trek V. I did 3 of these shows today. Well, I did 2 for this channel, and I did something else for something else. All right, so I'm gonna go. Enjoy Star Trek V. Go give it a whirl, and we'll talk about it again.